so many books that I want to talk about in this video. This is one pile. We've got another pile over here. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Obviously today is going to be another book video. I'm so excited. These are actually my favorite types of book videos to make, like my recent reads type of videos, because these books are very like fresh in my memory, and I have so many like different opinions, different feelings, different emotions about these books. So this like monthly recap is basically a recap of all the books I read in January and all the books I read in February, and one book I read in December that I've actually never talked about in my channel. If you guys are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. I make book videos and I make a bunch of other videos that you might like. So yeah, before we get started with this video though, I do want to give a huge shout out to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. She's iconic, she's here, she's back. If you don't know what Book of the Month is, it's basically a super popular and fast-growing online book service for readers. Their mission is to promote new and emerging authors and to help readers discover books that they love. Their team vets hundreds of books each month, and they give readers their choice from a curated selection of new and early release titles. So you can spend more time reading and less time researching. Book of the Month is also completely risk-free, so you can skip any month at any time and you will not be charged. Plus, they have the best price for new release hardcover fiction, and for this month you can use the code PICKMEUP and you can get your first book for only $9.99, which is a great deal. Okay, I'm gonna share with you guys the books that I received this month, starting with our special book, which is in here. First book is Cartographers by Pen Shepherd. Okay, I'm definitely going to be reading this book this month because I've been seeing this everywhere. This is Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. You already know it's a cute rom-com by the cover. Okay, next is The Verifiers. This is the book of cold cases. Then we have The Unsinkable Greta James, Tell Me Everything by Erica Krause. This is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Once again, I want to give a huge thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, and let's get started with the video. Okay, I'm starting off with the book that I absolutely loved and that I've never talked about on my channel. I don't know why. I think I haven't filmed like a wrap-up book video in a while, and then the videos that I have been filming, this didn't really fit into the theme or the title, but I absolutely love this book so much. I read this back in December, I think, closer to Christmas time, so it's definitely been a while, but I remember I adored this book. This is Twisted Games by Anna Huang. So this is Twisted book 2. The first one was Twisted Love. This one's Twisted Games. I also really enjoy Twisted Love. However, this one was everything for me. This was literally so good. You fall in love with the characters, you fall in love with their story, and then like shit starts going wrong and you're just like rooting for them the entire time, and it's amazing. So basically what made this story, or this love story, very different was that Bridget, the main character, is a princess. I remember when I read that it was about a princess, I didn't really think I was gonna like it because I was like, that kind of sounds like a Disney Channel original movie type of vibes. Like, I don't know if that's gonna be like a good little love story. It is. Okay, it is. And she's a princess from like a European country, but she's going to school in the US. So she's going to college, she's having the whole college experience. So basically, Rice is her bodyguard. Not her boyfriend, not her friend, not her anything, pretty much. He's her bodyguard. For most of the story, they're literally trying to stay away from one another because he is super serious and super dedicated to his job. He knows that he's just there to protect her and he takes his job very seriously. So then she finds herself in a position where she can't escape that royalty life anymore. Like, that's who she is and she kind of has to accept that. And at the same time, she also finds herself in a position where she's in love with her bodyguard. So this book was definitely 100% 5 stars out of 5 stars, and I cannot wait for the third book to come out because I just know it's gonna be so good. Okay, next is gonna be a series that I got into and I really want to talk about it. It's the Bound series by Cora Riley. If you've heard me talk about the Maid series, you know I'm obsessed with the Maid series, and for the longest time I was looking for something similar. I was looking for like a dark romance, I was looking for a mafia love story, and I kept getting this one. I kept hearing people talk about this one, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna get the first book. And the first book is actually Bound by Honor. There's actually like 7 books in this series. I only read 4. The series is kind of similar to the Maid series, where like all of the characters correlate with each other and they're like in the same universe, in the same life, in the same story, I guess you can say, but they're all about different couples. But basically the first book is about Luca and Arya, and I think they're like the main couple from like the entire series. They're like the main couple that I think most people feel the most like connected to, because all the other characters in all the other books just fall into the story of them. Another thing with the books is that it's all in the same time frame. Everything that happens in this book, in the second book, you're reading about it again, but from different characters' point of views, so that was incredibly repetitive. However, I can't even say anything because I bought 4 books, so I'm telling you, this is addicting. So yeah, it's about Luca and Arya. Luca is the head of the mafia. He's like the Don, he's like the boss of everybody. So basically Luca and Arya find themselves in an arranged marriage because Arya is the daughter of a Chicago mafia leader, so by marrying they're like tying in the New York and Chicago gangs. I don't know. She absolutely hates him at the beginning. He does some crazy fucked up shit, but but somewhere in between. It's a cute romance. It's a cute dark romance vibe. So this is definitely my favorite out of all of them. I give this a 4 out of 5. Then I read Bound by Hatred, which is the second book, and this one I actually thought was going to be my favorite because this one is enemies to lovers. It's basically Luca's brother and Arya's sister, and they hate each other. There's an arranged marriage situation. I thought like the banter is going to be really good, all of that type of stuff, and I was kind of disappointed with it. I thought it was going to be so much better. However, I did finish the whole thing in like a day, so it's kind of good. I'm telling you, I don't know how to describe this series other than it's so addicting. This one I'll probably give it like a 3.5. No, that's a little low. Probably like a 4. I'll give this a 4. Next I read Bound by Duty, and this one actually is like a whole different couple. The main guy in this one, Dante, he's the boss of the Chicago mafia people, and Valentina is the girl. This was my least favorite. For sure. I was so bored. I'm so sorry. Like, I was so bored throughout this whole thing, and Dante treated her like a piece of shit, and I was like, okay, I get it. It's a dark romance. Like, I get the whole vibe, but like... So basically the whole thing with this one is that Dante lost his wife. So he was already married, and he lost his wife really young. So his wife died, and he was really in love with her, and then he basically decides to remarry with Valentina, and Valentina goes into the marriage like super excited. Like, he was like, okay, like he's gonna fall in love with me, I'm gonna fall in love with him, even though it's like an arranged marriage. And basically they just spend so much time with Dante pushing her away. This one's probably my least favorite, so I'm gonna give this one a 3 out of 5. Okay, this one's Bound by Love, and this is the last book in the series, and this one took me a couple days to get through because this book basically covers everything that happened in the whole series. And it's just like, when you already know what's gonna happen, even though you're getting it from different perspectives, from different point of views, blah blah blah, it still feels really repetitive. So this one took me a little while to get through, but at the end I was like, okay, it's a cute end to a series, so I don't regret reading it. I honestly think if I would have stopped after this one, I would have been fine, but it's addicting, I'm telling you. Okay, next book I'm talking about is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. This is one of my top 3 Colleen Hoover books. I absolutely adored this book. It just breaks your heart in all the right ways, like all the right ways, and then at the end you're just like, I love life again, you know, after like crying for like 30 minutes. So what made this book so amazing to me is that it goes from past and present. So in the past, you're going through Quinn and Graham beginning their relationship. Listen to how heartbreaking this is, right? And then in the present, you're going through how their relationship is falling apart. So every single chapter is you seeing how they fell in love with each other, and 10 years later, how their relationship is falling apart and why. But it really shows you how it's up to you to fight for what you love and fight for the people you love. And this book is amazing. Definitely recommend it. 5 stars out of 5. And yes, I cried. Okay, next is Heartbones. Once again, Colleen Hoover, surprise. I also really want to make a video of like rating all of the Colleen Hoover books in my opinion, like my favorites and stuff. But in order to do that, I obviously have to go through all of them, which is why I have a lot of Colleen Hoover books. And this one was actually the one that I was the most pleasantly surprised. I remember the only time I really heard about this book was when I saw like TikToks of like shows you like and books you should read if you like those shows. And this was the recommendation for Outer Banks. Like, if you like the vibe of Outer Banks, you should definitely read this book, which I could not agree with more. Like, honestly, this is such a good, like, it's honestly the perfect summer read, and I will definitely be rereading it during the summer. So basically the story is about Bea and Samson. Bea has lived an incredibly tough life. She comes from poverty. She comes from a mom that didn't really care for her at all. So basically when the book starts, she's 17 years old and it's about to be summertime, and her mom just passed away, and she's basically struggling to know where she's gonna live until she gets to go to college. So she has this entire summer where she doesn't really have a home. It's basically at the very beginning where she decides that she's gonna spend this entire summer at her dad's house, and her dad and her don't really have any sort of like relationship. Her dad's house is basically like a beach house in this beach town, literally Outer Banks. I was thinking of Outer Banks the entire time, and that's basically where she meets Samson. Samson lives next door in this huge mansion. They both realize really quickly that they have this like connection and chemistry, which is weird to Bea because they come from 2 separate worlds. Like, she comes from a world of poverty and he comes from a world of a lot of money, but the thing that they share in common is that they both have this really big sadness to them, and it's that really sad similarity that brings them closer together. This was honestly one of the few Colleen Hoover books that I can say I will definitely reread like for fun. Other ones I kind of have to second guess because you're obviously gonna cry, but with this one it's like, you know, you get a little sad because obviously the stories of each character is really deep, but the ending and the overall love story is just so heartwarming. Definitely 5 stars out of 5. So I think every single booktuber, every single book talk, everything has talked about this book already, and I've also already talked about this on my channel, so I'm not gonna go into depth, even though I want to because this book deserves it. I will make it short and sweet for you. This book is about Kenna and how she has been in prison for 5 years because she made a horrible, tragic, horrifying mistake which she didn't just pay for by going to prison for 5 years, but she's also paying for when she comes out, because when she comes out she wants to reunite with her 5-year-old daughter. She was pregnant when she went into prison, had her baby in prison, didn't even get to meet her. So her only goal, her only thing in her mind when she comes out of prison is to finally meet her daughter. The book takes you through her fighting for forgiveness, fighting for a second chance, fighting for her daughter, fighting honestly to forgive herself most of the time. If you've been thinking about reading this, read it. I absolutely loved it. 5 stars out of 5. It's amazing. I'm going to talk about Confess really quick. I read this in actually like over the weekend, so I read this in like 2 days. I honestly don't really like reading books really quickly because I feel like I get so like, you know, into the story, really obsessed with the characters, and then it's over and then you have to move on. So that's kind of annoying. This was another book that I hadn't heard too much about, but when I read it I was actually really glad that I read it. This one didn't really keep me like on the edge of my seat. Like there wasn't really anything where I was just like, oh my god, I have to know. It was just more of a chill read, you know, like you kind of figure it out eventually. If I even talk about like the first 3 chapters, I'm already gonna spoil something, so I'm not gonna say too much about this book. There's a very good amount of like mystery with this book because you don't really know where it's going. Like the 2 characters meet, Aubrey and Owen. However, you know that one of them or both of them are keeping secrets. All in all, this book was really good. So 4 stars out of 5. I have 2 more books I want to talk about, and these 2 are the most like recent in my mind right now because I read this one over the weekend and I read this one, I actually finished this one last night. If you were to ask me who's your favorite author right now, don't think about it, who's your favorite author? Taylor Jenkins Reid. Through and through. It's just like the feeling that her books leave you with is something out of this world. I've read a lot of books, I've had a lot of different feelings with books, and her books are just different. I honestly want to say this book is life-changing. It makes you think about life, and it makes you think about, you know, events that happen in your life, decisions that you make. It makes you see it differently. This book is not just about romance. I literally wrote this when I was writing my Goodreads review. Also follow me on Goodreads if you don't, but I was writing my Goodreads review as soon as I finished it, and I said this, but I was like, this is so much more than a romance book. This book talks about fate, it talks about life, it talks about decisions that you make and where it takes you. This book is about Hannah. Right there, she's our main girl. It talks about how she's lived in many different cities. She's now 29 years old, so she's in a moment in her life where she just doesn't feel like she has anything concrete in her life, and that's where she makes the decision to move to LA, which is where her best friend lives. It's basically her first night back in LA, and her best friend tells her, we're gonna go out to get drinks, like we're gonna invite a couple friends from high school, you know, give her like a good welcoming to LA. This is where it gets good. Her ex high school boyfriend, her like first love, comes to the party, or not to the party, but he comes to the bar, and she has to make a decision at the end of the night. Gabby, which is her best friend, and her husband are about to go back home, and they're like, okay, like we're leaving, like, you know, come on, like come with us, blah blah blah. And Ethan tells her, oh, you know what, I can drop you off, like I can take you home, stay with me for the rest of the night. And she has to make the decision to either stay with Ethan. She knows if she stays with Ethan, it's gonna lead to something else, and it's gonna be like restarting what they had in high school. So the book takes you through the 2 outcomes that come from each of those decisions. I know, does that sound crazy? I feel like that sounds a little crazy. Each chapter takes you through the outcomes of her life. One being the choice that she made to stay with Ethan and what happens to her life when she did that, and the other one being what happened when she left with Gabby, her best friend, and what happened to her life with that. When some things are meant to be, they will just happen regardless of where you are in life. And it was such a good book. It's so dark right now that I don't even want to go off about this, but just know that this is literally, oh, this one right here, this is literally my favorite book that I'm talking about in this video, and I highly recommend this. Okay, listen, I get that this lighting is ugly, but I have one more book to talk about, and that is this one right here, Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. I actually finished this one last night, and I ended up giving this one a 4 stars out of 5. I think the main reason I didn't like instantly fall in love with it is because it's a high school romance, and I just don't really like connect with high school romances as much. I swear I lost count of the plot twists that were happening. I would say like one of them I was expecting, everything else I was like, what is going on? I would say the first half of the book I was a little underwhelmed. The second I was like, Colleen Hoover, you did it again. But yeah, this one is very dark, and it's very intense. Like you're reading the story and you think you're kind of like getting it, and then Colleen Hoover's like, no, you thought you know absolutely nothing about what's happening. So yeah, I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely enjoyed it. The fact that most of my book videos end with lighting this bad, as you can tell, I've been talking for a really long time because ranting about books is one of my favorite things to do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys, oh, thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you guys in my next video.